Well, it's so fun hearing, about that whole team that we had going with you, and seeing the success you had. I mean, I was one of your biggest fans. Just cheering, screaming my brains out when he's playing. It's just so much fun to see that and compete at that level, and know that we have the solid team around you. And Tim Brown is just an unbelievable physician, doc, and he's going to just remap the whole body. Share a little bit about some of Tim's work and Ken Ewing's work.
Well, I mean, I don't even remember how old I was when I met Tim, but I grew up in Orange County, and Tim was always in Orange County. I think I met him when I was in high school, but then didn't really, just a high school athlete doing your thing, but I immediately connected with Tim, and I was maybe 10 years later, I went back and met with him again, and the thing about Tim is that he looks at your entire body and what it is that you need to do to improve and to reach that next level. And he wasn't just, the thing I really love about Tim is that he's not just going to say that he has all the answers, right? So he's going to look and say, hey man, I think this person can help you get here, and this person can help you get here, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. He's met so many amazing people. He's built his team around him too.
Yeah.
And he has people that he trusts, and so if I'm coming up like, hey man, I can help your back, or I can help your shoulder, but man, like it's going to keep reoccurring if we don't do something more. And I have this guy Justin who can help you and get stronger and get prevent the injury, so we're not having to do all this stuff. And so that's really what the stuff I take from Tim, and I still get to go out and surf with Tim every once in a while, and I think I say like 2 words, because all I do is ask him questions, right? Like, Tim, so what's going on with this, and what's going on with this? And he's just, he's lived his life, just educating himself on what he does and branching out, and I feel like the guy could be a doctor in about a bunch of different fields by this point in his life.
No doubt.
So really appreciative for his impact on my life, and so it's just always great to hear him and listen to him.
Yeah, and Ken?
Ooh, Ken. Yeah, man, like Ken.
Grasshopper.
Yeah, Ken's another one who really changed a lot of how I view the world. He took a kid, I wasn't really a kid at the time, but someone who was just pushing so hard to get what he wanted, and kind of taught me taught me just the patience and allowing and seeing the world from a different lens. And a lot of the stuff that Kent brought out of me and taught me, I share with with my kids that I coach all the time.
Definitely.
So I think Kent not only helped me get to a higher place than where I was going when I was playing, but what he's really had an impact on me was my ability to share what I learned on a journey, and the importance of what's really important to share and what's not. And so I think that that's something that I'll always be thankful for, and I still go down and see Kent, and it's always a learning experience. You think you've made progress in some areas, and you realize that you've really got a lot of work to do. So I'm just really thankful to both those guys.
Yeah, well, I remember, I think one of your first times seeing Ken, I'm like, hey, it's going to take a few days to process this treatment. Don't see him. You're like, I got to go see him. And you went literally the 2 days before or something, your tournament, and it takes so long, the first time to process it. And I probably got a 10th place finish or something in that tournament. And then the next one you go and win. It was just once your body processed it, it was just boom, you just started just creating and winning. It was just unbelievable. So it's fun to see that whole process. And Matt, excuse me, Matt's one of the hands down, if you were to ask me in the prime when I was working with the collectively so many different athletes, who's your favorite athlete, Justin? In the entire world, I would have said him. And so because he checks off everything that you ever want in an athlete and a friend and a role model, a sportsmanship. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And you hit it on all cylinders. So it was just so fun to work with you on every level with that. And with Kent, we and Tim and our whole crew, we had a good trust factor. We built up. We had lots of wins. We had a great momentum going. And take us back to after your season, you went on a surf trip. And what I recall is you stepped off your board and you broke your foot. And so I got a call saying, hey, Justin, I broke my foot. And you know, what do you recommend I do? This is the scenario that the docs are laying out. And because of you being a barefoot athlete and us having a really great support team around you, I recommended not to have surgery and to go see Kent and to start to rehab. And Kent and I were the only really two, I think, that said that. Everyone else was like, go get a pin in your foot, go get a pin in your foot. And you went with our route, and you ended up, again, placing like a top 10 the first one, and then, you know, a top 3, 2, 3 finish the next event with 0 repercussions. Share a little bit more about that story from your perspective.
Yeah, well, I think the background of that is that I was playing on a broken foot the entire season. So I had what's called a stress fracture. And when a stress fracture is at a certain point, it just hurts, but it doesn't, you can play on it. In beach volleyball, you only get paid for how you finish. So I don't have a contract. So I don't get to go out and rest my foot and go to 20 different great doctors and do everything I can to get better. I got to go make money to put food on the table for my family. So I played on it because I could. And because the work I was doing with Kent, a lot of other great stuff I was doing, I made it through the entire season. Then I go out right afterwards to go to actually to go on a surf trip, and like on the very last wave of a session, I popped up my board, and when I popped up on the board, I just felt it. I mean, it just was, it's time, right? I'd taken it down, so that was not fun. I was deep in Mexico. I had to walk over rocks, get back to the house, get all the way back to the US, knowing that it was already broken. So I knew that it was definitely, now it was really broken. So it was basically, the bone was here. It's your 5th metatarsal, which is the outside part of your foot here. It's a bone that Kevin Durant broke. It's the bone that the Joel Embiid broke. It's a bone that a lot of taller men, I think, break. And I got to the x-ray when I got home, and it was hanging on by like, so it should be like this. It was like barely hanging on. But the fact that it was still connected is important, because when I talk to people, even the doctors that were very much wanted me to get surgery, they all said that it can heal on its own. And so after talking with Justin, talking with Kent, and Kent does a lot of work with getting blood flow into areas, opening up areas, I decided that I would rather do that than get a pin. I also went and talked with athletes that had gotten a pin in their foot and were still suffering pain in their foot. I look back at that and I'm really amazed that I made that decision, because it's pretty risky. You know, the pin in your foot's a guarantee that it's going to heal. This way it wasn't. But like you said, it was just at that time there was a trust factor, there was a knowing that it was going to work out, and it did. And I never got a pin in the foot. I got a ton of treatment on it. I got a bone healer. And it took less time to heal than it did for the pin. I never had to get a pin taken out, and that was in 2005, and I played until 2012. I never had another problem with the bone in my foot. So yeah, it was really cool. It took a lot of faith and belief that I could do it. It took a lot of my belief, thinking that I have a part in my body healing, that I'm not just like, I need a doctor to do it. And so that's a whole other topic. But yeah,
we're going beyond.
It worked. It really worked out well, and but it was a full-time job for me getting that thing healthy. Meditation at nights. There was, ice, heat, laser. There was a bone healer. There was, Kent working on it, another physical therapist working on it. So it wasn't like I just said, oh man, it can heal on its own. I mean, I did a lot of work, and I was also ready to go get I would go get x-rays like every month, and so I was ready to go and do the surgery if I needed to. I had like a cutoff date, because it was right when the season ended, so I had the whole off season, and I gave myself a 2.5 month window where then I would go get the surgery. And they said even if the bone healed somewhat, the surgery would be less time to heal from. So I gave myself like 2.5 months, and actually when I went in at 2.5 months, it was like almost totally healed. So
that's
it was
awesome.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, can you imagine having a broken bone in your foot and then walking on it the whole time, and then seeing it all heal with literally every x-rays every several weeks?
Yeah.
and seeing the progression. I remember you coming in and going, "Hey, I went to the doctor today," and he's like palpating your foot and bending, "Does this hurt? Does this hurt?" You're like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
And they were in disbelief of all the alternative methods you used,
Yeah.
and how effective they were. So let's go back. One of our other team members that we brought in towards the latter part was a gentleman named Sensei Benny the Jet Urquidez. Mm-hmm. And it's just, for me, it's fun to share a lot of the backdrop. And Sensei Benny's never lost a title fight, 62 straight title victories, one of the most storied kickboxers in the world. And he is a martial arts expert. He was the best kickboxer in the world when Muhammad Ali was the best boxer in the world. And so to get some extra mental toughness and to really start to look at things at a different level from a fighter's perspective, I introduced Matt to Sensei Benny. And so tell us a little bit about your experience with Benny.
That was amazing too. I just want to go back to that, like, all this is possible, or all these people that I met and all the stuff I did was because I was going after something, and I think that's so important that, I didn't win every tournament I was in. In fact, I probably, could have won a few more and didn't win a few more, but it was the journey of us going after to try to get where we wanted to get that allowed me to have all these cool experiences that I share. So it's not even the fact that, like, being the best in the world, it's just the fact that you're going after that and chasing it, and on that journey you learn a lot because you're putting yourself on the line. Like, I'm out in a finals playing live on TV. When you lose, it hurts, but that pressure then makes you want to go out and do better, and so you go out and start finding different avenues, and that's the fun part, right? So Sensei Benny is actually, so he was MMA before MMA existed. He would have just dominated that sport. He was a black belt in every martial art possible. And he would actually go to different countries and fight that person at their sport. So he would go to Thailand and fight Muay Thai against their champion. He'd go to Japan and fight their karate, the champion. And he didn't lose a title fight in 62 attempts. Sensei Ben is a really spiritual person. We did a lot of, I would do a workout with him, which is really fun to do, learning kickboxing, martial arts, and then we would do a big meditation before and a big meditation after, and then including a big stretch out. So for me, it was mostly a cardio, stretching, but like you said, it was really just a mental toughness. Because to me, when I'm playing volleyball, I react sometimes when I hit a ball out. And really, it's not a big deal. If you're fighting and you drop your hand, you get hit in the face. So I'm like, how does this guy handle those mistakes? And so that's what I asked him. How do you handle walking up knowing you're about to get in a ring, and if you make a mistake, you get your ass knocked out. And basically, Benny is just, he's amazing in the way he looks at the world, and it's just, for him, it's having fun. He was never a guy who sweated before. He would go out and just walk out he worked his butt off, but he'd go in that ring relaxed. If he got hit, there's photos of him laughing when he got hit, and people thought he was cocky, but he was just saying, his quote to me was always like, okay, you hit me, now I've seen it, and it's never gonna happen again. So you got me there, nice shot, good job. So he'd always give credit to his fighters and say, hey man, that's a great shot, but I'm gonna come back at you now, and now you're in trouble. So I think that's kind of, one of the things I took from Benny, and just the amount of work he did, even when he was at his best, at just the power meditations and getting his mind in a place where he was able to be in that mindset and not be in the riled up mindset or I'm gonna kill you mindset. It was always I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna have fun, and I'm gonna outwork you, and whatever you do, I'm gonna come back and do it better. And if you get me this time, in my mind, it's not done yet. It will be done when I say it's done. So the next time we fight, I'm gonna get you. So if I ever lost a match, you would go, well, you just ran out of time. If you would have kept going, you would have beaten him eventually. And so it's just a mindset, it's a way of looking at things where you could be, man, I can't believe I lost. And he'd be like, oh, today wasn't your day, and you ran out of time, and when the time comes, you're gonna get him. And it's just it's a way that to think and to process things so that you're not crushing yourself down like some of us athletes tend to do. So when you get in those big moments and you have the opportunities that are there, you're just in a better state of mind to do them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love hearing that. you know, Sensei Benny he brings such a different perspective and view to training, thinks out of the box as we do. His wife's a shaman healer, Sarah Eagle Woman, and so she'll be speaking as well. And so we just have this amazing crew that just ends up taking people beyond and bringing them an insight and a mentality that is a winning mentality. And that's, I think, a lot of what your teams really help with. And more importantly, I mean, Matt's really done it himself. What you said is he was a seeker. You're always looking. You're like, Justin, what else? What else? What else? And you're challenging me to bring you more. And I had to pull the reins back a little bit and say, hey, look, okay, let's give you a little, absorb that, and then let's give you a little more and absorb it. Because you can't just give everybody everything at once. It'll be overload. And so there was this process that unfolded over years, and it just ended up being so fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about some of the wins. I mean, you know, I've been at a lot of them. I didn't even get to see, you came back out of retirement, went with Casey Jennings, and you guys won the Manhattan Beach Open. I mean, your name's on the pier. So you've basically won all the bigs that you want to, and talk to us about your partner Casey. He's a bundle of energy, and just probably one of the most dynamic athletes in the world, and he's just phenomenal. His energy systems, like, he would bring everybody up. I mean, talk about turning a crowd. This guy would just bring it. So talk about your partnership with Casey and the ones you guys had, and then coming back and winning Manhattan Beach Open.
Yeah, Casey is a really dynamic athlete and leader and personality who, it's a big personality, and so he can take over a stadium.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, think about that. Like, that takes a lot to go and take up a stadium. Like, I could do that in bunches, like when I was feeling it, but he could do it like on his lowest moment. He still had more energy than like most people, you know. And it's funny, you hear that about a lot of great competitors, a lot of great athletes. Like a Michael Jordan, you hear he'd be gambling till out 5 in the morning, and he'd be the first one to practice the next day. Just sleep wasn't a huge part of his routine. His body was just always going,